Question of the day. What is your favorite use of facing in a game? Like as if you have to face a certain direction in a game in order to score points or get things for it. Because today we're talking about a game called Four Gardens, which is also, I was going to ask, what's your favorite three-dimensional game? Because Four Gardens uses 3 dimensions and facing in order to gain resources, etc. This is a very unique looking game. It's a big tall pagoda, it's like 17 inches tall, in which you're going to rotate the pagoda in order to get certain resources. So let's take a look at what Four Gardens is, how it plays, and we'll come back up, talk final thoughts right now. I know, right? Yes, that is in fact a giant 3-dimensional pagoda that comes all the way away. It's a big piece. This is a huge, really tall piece. It's like 17, 18 inches tall that sits on the table. But what's great is, yes, once you assemble this once, it's already assembled for the rest of the time. Now you're going to assemble this in a certain way where the bottom is 3, 2, 1, 0. This is your starting position. You say, wow, that's pretty interesting that all of those can spin. Yes, that Rubik's Cube motion is basically the center of the major strategy of this game. Ideally, what you're going to be doing to win is have the most points on these 4 tracks. The way you move up these tracks are by turning your groundwork cards over and putting them into panorama mode. Now, you'll notice that you're making an actual panorama by having 1, 2, 3, 4 of green, for instance, is the green cards. Purple has 5, red has 2, orange has 3. And I think that's it. I think that's all of them as far as that goes. You can only have 1 color panorama in your garden at a time. And the game end is triggered when a certain amount of cards are flipped over to their completed side. In 2 players, that's 10 cards. Other player counts as less. On your turn, you're going to be doing 3 actions, essentially based on some pretty simple things. Now, one thing to note, these are the amount of items that you can hold at a time, the amount of resources you can hold at a time. So we're gold. We can have 4 resources at a time. Here's how it works. In order to collect resources, you can take the action on the top right. Now, the way the top right action works is you'll spin the highlighted area. So it'll be this one, for instance. You can spin it clockwise or counterclockwise. And notice when you do that, obviously, the one on top will spin too. When you collect top down, starting at the top, moving to the bottom until your area is full here. So in our case, if we need a lot of water, we would want to turn it this way and we would get 1, 2, 3 water and then nothing here, and then we'd get 1 grass. So that's how that collection works. Now, obviously, this can move in all sorts of different configurations, which would change completely the order of which the resources are going to be at any point in the game. Laying groundwork means you take a card out of your hand, place it onto your garden down here. Now, it's not flipped until you get the resources on it. And the way you get resources on it is all the cards have this wheelbarrow symbol. That means you discard the card to play it for its wheelbarrow symbol, and you can then rearrange as many items as you want resources from your planting area, from other cards, from wherever you need them to get these cards. And once they're full, you'll flip them over. In a panorama, for instance, let's just use the green. Let's say we have these 2 in our area. When we flip this one, we move up 1 on the pink track there. When we flip this one, since they're in the same panorama, and no, they don't have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, you could do 1 and 4. Since we flip this and they're in the same panorama, you score the new one, and then you score every other one in the panorama at the same time. So this one is wild, we get to pick. Let's just say we're at the end of 10. Once you're at the end, instead of moving up, you're going to move everybody else back 1. If you get moved back off the edge, you totally get off the edge, you can never get back on. If you were to complete an entire panorama of 4 cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, which I think we have here. Yes, we do. So if you complete this entire panorama, you would then also take one of the bonus tiles. There's this one that allows you to have a bigger planting center. This one allows you to take a set amount. It's 4, 3, 2, 1 wild resources and then put them straight onto cards if you wanted to. And the other one is just straight points at the end of the game. You're going to do 3 actions. The other action is that wild action. You might have this in your hand where you take it and play it from there straight onto a card. If it triggers, it triggers. Obviously, the game is mostly spent about trying to find the best combination for you each turn to collect resources and get them onto cards. That, to me, is so cool, how that can change and shift and move when it comes to, obviously, moving this giant thing around. It serves a purpose being 3-dimensional. It's not just random or wild. It's necessary for it to be like this, which to me is brilliant. So the game ends when that set amount of cards are flipped over. You score points based on this, and if there's any bonuses, person with the most points wins the game. At the end of your turn of doing 3 actions, you will return your card back up to 5. So that's it. At the end of the day, it looks amazing, right? First and foremost, the game looks beautiful on the table. Let's talk art direction. I mean, after all, it's a Dice Tower Essential, so that ought to give you a pretty good sign that it's really, really good in the first place, that Tom thinks it's good enough to add it to the line. So Dice Tower Essentials is usually a good sign. I mean, Smartphone Inc., phenomenal game. Onitama, phenomenal game. So first of all, the game looks incredible, right? The art on the cards looks really good. The panoramas, I love a game with a panorama. I love the game with the art design, just makes sense. It's easy to understand the symbols. It's easy to understand what the cards do. It's easy to understand where things go and what things do. All of the art design just works, but let's talk practicalness. First of all, the pagoda itself is very sturdy. Like when you put it together the first time, you don't have to take it apart. Now you'll have to take it off of each other, obviously, to put it in the box. But that's simple. It's just because the plastic pieces are made to fit so well, you just pop, put it in the box, put it in the box, put it in the box, put it in the box. What I love about this game is you can set this up in probably 30 seconds. But besides shuffling the cards, etc., you can open the box, put the base piece out, stack, 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 shuffle the cards, you're basically done. I love that. I love the insert for this game. It holds the pagoda very sturdy. It makes sure that if you're storing it vertically or horizontally, it can do that. The only thing you can't do horizontally is you need to put the resources back in the little baggies in the insert, but the insert is nice for that too. As far as the gameplay goes, it's very simple, but it's also incredibly strategic. You're doing this Rubik's Cube style, okay, well, if I turn this section this way, and maybe next turn I can turn this one this way and really get a good combo. Now granted, you have to balance that with the fact that you collect the resources from top down or bottom up, and then you have to think about, well, wait a minute, I can only hold 4 resources at the moment, or I can only hold 2 because I've already got 2 out there. I'm not actually going to get to that middle section of the pagoda, so I need to rotate this where I get 0, 1, and then maybe I can get some of these down here, depending on your cards. I love the strategic element of that, of thinking through what am I going to spin this turn to make it work. So that's a beautiful plus for me. Gameplay wise, it's just a win. It works. It's smart. It's a little punishing sometimes if you think about this for a minute. Technically, it's the same thing, right? If I score an extra point, 11 and 2 is the same differential as 10 and 1. It's 9, right? But the punishing part of that is if I bump that up too many times, you fall off the board completely and can never get back on the board. I think that's a really cool mechanic to think, okay, I've got to balance this, because if they keep scoring that, I'm going to be off the board. Or, well, they can knock me off yellow, but I'm going to knock them off pink, and then we'll even out from there. Scoring is really, really cool. I like the way that works. So all in all, total win for me. This is a beautiful game. It looks good. It plays good. It's really fun. It's unique. It does something that not other games do, having that vertical spacing and 3-dimensional look to it. So this is a huge win for me. If you haven't checked out Four Gardens, make sure to go check it out. It's an amazing game. So I'm Bryan Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Bryan. Until next time, we'll see you.